If you're like me, you might think that archaeologists have uncovered a massive amount of historical artifacts, treasures, and tombs from the ground. This is usually not the case. It's very expensive to dig. Then it takes years to document, interpret, and publish the findings of the work so that other scholars can examine the data. While I was with Professors Clyde Billington and Charles Ayling, I asked Ayling how much he thought was uncovered at Manfred Betek's site, the ancient city of Avaris. How much do we really know about Egyptology or the history of Egypt? How much of Avaris has been excavated?
Okay. Well, the first part of your question is we don't have a lot of information. My guess would be we know 10 to 15% of what there is to be known. But Avaris itself, this is one of the most massive sites in all of the ancient Near Eastern world, and they have excavated there 60 seasons now. And Professor Betek, the excavator, said that that accounts for about 3% of the total site. Mm-hmm. A season lasts about 2 or 3 months. They do 2 seasons a year usually.
So for about 30 years they've been excavating there?
Yep. Yeah, and they have excavated approximately 3%.
Only 3%.
Mm-hmm. And so when people say, oh, there's nothing that's been found to verify the Bible and so on, they're basing it on awfully slim evidence. We wouldn't study World War II that way or the Civil War that way. And then just in general kinds of information, if you look at, for example, the Secretaries of State of the United States, mm-hmm. you could hit a button on a computer or look it up in a book and you could get every one of those from the presidency of George Washington right through the present. On the other hand, with Egypt, there are huge gaps. We know pretty much all the kings, but we don't know all their officials, all the priests, all the viziers, all the chief stewards of the king. We have large, large gaps in our information.
Imagine how very exciting it would be to dig up something that no one had seen for thousands of years. Thrilling to be the one to uncover an artifact. And to wonder what new revelation it would lead to in this puzzle of the past we call history. You're still finding things all the time.
Every day. In my opinion, that we still have more than 60% of the monuments of Egypt is underneath. Every day we're excavating, we find more and more excavations and more things. You know, I'll tell you a very nice story. 3 years ago, we found a very fantastic stela in the Sphinx Alley, in the Sphinx Avenue excavations. And this is stela from the time of Setnacht. Setnacht was the founder of the 20th dynasty, okay? And he was the father of Ramses III. All the evidences from the ancient Egyptians inscriptions tell us that he ruled 2 years only. But when I found this stela, it was written in it that it was written in the year 4 of the reign of King Setnacht. So now we know that Setnacht ruled more than 4 years. The other good thing that...
So it went from 2 years...
It became 4 years.
40 years.
This year, 4.
4.
Okay. This is stela, they said in the first line that it was written in the 4th year of his reign. So it means that he ruled more than 4 years. So we have now concrete evidence. The unique thing also that in the stela they mentioned a strike. The poor people entered the temple of Karnak and destroyed the statues of the kings and the big names. And he mentioned that he entered the temple and he found the statues, some of them in their side, some of them in their back, some of them in their faces. And what he did, he restored these statues and he re-established them again. He kicked out the people out of the temple. And this is the first time we knew that the ancient Egyptians attacked this holy place in ancient times. So as I told you, every day, with the excavations, you find something new. And always, when you want to judge as a scholar in anything, you have to say, maybe, I think, I assume, but I am sure this happened. This is not science. Nobody knows what the sand of Egypt can tell of secrets. Maybe in the excavation we'll find some evidences, but so far, there is no any documented evidence about the Exodus. So all this story about the Exodus, we know it from the holy books only. It's already mentioned in Quran more than 7 times. It's in the Holy Bible. But in the ground, we have no evidence.
I asked Professor John Bimson a similar question. How much do we really know from the archaeology about the biblical story?
In Egypt, if we go back to, say, the 18th, 19th centuries BC, we've got several sites where there are settlements of Semitic groups, what the Egyptians would have called Asiatics. We don't know exactly when they started arriving or exactly when these settlements stopped. We've got a good many settlements, 20 or more, which would fit the land of Goshen, where the Bible says the Israelites were settled. Many of these have not been fully excavated yet.
That are similar to the Avaris site?
We don't know whether they're as big until people start digging there. The Avaris site, of course, no one knew how big that was until excavation began.
I questioned Professor Bimson whether we could find out more information about these similar settlements.
If they all turn out to be as big as Tel Daba, they would take hundreds of years to fully investigate. So there could be a lot of stuff in the ground waiting to be discovered and to throw a lot more light on this period of Asiatic settlement.
The only time that the archaeology shows massive numbers of Semites living in ancient Egypt is in this earlier period around the Middle Kingdom. This is strikingly different from the New Kingdom and the time of Ramesses, when there is no evidence of this.
What else might be waiting to be discovered under the sands of time? And what mysteries about the Bible might be solved concerning these events that were written so long ago? There's a lot out there, isn't there, up in those hills and a lot of other places.
There certainly is, a lot more.
There's more story to tell, isn't there? How much do you think has been uncovered so far? Do you have any guesses?
I can't even hazard a guess. I know that there's enough material, new material in Egypt, that archaeologists will be kept busy digging for centuries, or could be kept busy digging as long as the material just doesn't disappear and go to hell in a handbag, is likely if it isn't better controlled and more attention paid to conservation and protection. By the same token, I think there is a lot of material in museums, a lot of papyri, written textual material that has not yet been translated, a lot of material that needs reinterpretation. Now, graduate students have no worry. There are PhD theses galore waiting to be written over the next several hundred years. We're not going to run out of discussions, arguments, re-examinations of facts.